This episode is brought to you by Action Wrestling News Network. Action Wrestling News Network is our Patreon service. You can find it at actionwrestlingnews.com and then just go ahead and select on Patreon. When you select that link, you will be given access to a slew of bonus episodes from NXT reviews, after party shows, classic wrestling reviews, and any and everything else that we can fit on a podcast. So go ahead, please support the show by going to actionwrestlingnews.com and select the Patreon link and subscribe for only $15 a month. Once again, that is actionwrestlingnews.com. I hope to see you there. Hello and welcome to Action Wrestling News. This is your host, Isaac Foxx, and today is November 15th, 2022. It has been some time. Let's just say that off top. It's been about a week since an episode has been uploaded. I believe the last episode that was uploaded was the Crown Jewel episode. Well, a lot has changed. I have a couple updates I have to run through. First of all, I've gotten rid of a couple things, like the stuffy scripted intro that I typically run as soon as I start to this show. I am working on polishing things a little bit more, but decided to kind of get rid of that. However, I would like you to follow me, so go ahead and do that on Twitter at AWN_IF. As you heard from the beginning, go to actionwrestlingnews.com to, check out the show, go to our Patreon page, all of that fun stuff. This is going to be your Raw review, but before I get into Monday Night Raw, let me just run down a few things that's going to be going on with this show going forward. If you go on the website, actionwrestlingnews.com, you'll notice that I have a new title there, or I have a new headline. It says to catch the show every Tuesdays and Saturdays. That is correct. This show will now be broadcasting twice a week, no longer 5 days a week. Now, let me tell you what this means and what this doesn't mean. It doesn't mean that you will only have 2 episodes a week. There'll be times you will have 3, if not 4. It really all depends. It's just at bare minimum, there'll be 2. So there'll be the show that happens today, which will typically, today is Tuesday as I'm recording this. Typically, this show will have a mixture of the Raw review and maybe any news that has happened over the weekend. So think of this show as more of probably your news heavy and review show. And then on Saturday is when we will be reviewing SmackDown and AEW Dynamite. Now, as far as things like NXT and AEW Rampage, you can catch those 2 reviews on the Patreon page. Again, you can just go to patreon.com/Action Wrestling News, or just go to the website, link in the description. Also, let's just break down Patreon actually. So here's how the Patreon page itself is going to work and what the shows are going to be on there. If you go over there and subscribe to it, you will be able to have 2 after party shows. What are after party shows? So after each of the main episodes on like today and the one that's going to happen on Saturday, there will be an extended version of this particular podcast. Now I want to be clear. No one's getting shortchanged. You will still, if you enjoy listening to the show in the past, you will still get the full reviews, all my thoughts, everything, as you would always get any other time. That has not changed. However, I am just adding extra information. And if you want to hear any extra thoughts that I, quite honestly, probably would not put on the main show because I wouldn't think it would fit, or I would think it might be rambling. But I'm kind of working on, making this more loose. Like we're just a couple dudes, or it's probably some girls listening. We're just talking about wrestling. I don't want to be as uptight as I've been with these shows before. It should just be, you're just listening to your friend talk about wrestling. That was the original vision for this podcast. It was meant to be just, a couple dudes, couple guys talking about wrestling. Simple as that, Yes, we want a professional sportscaster feel, but we also want to be kind of loose. So yeah, on the Patreon page, you're going to get 2 after party shows, the NXT reviews, the Rampage reviews. What else is there? I put so much on there, I forgot. Right, we're going to be have a new podcast coming out called WCW Unleashed. What that's going to be is we're going to take you through every single episode of WCW, Nitro, Thunder, and all of the pay-per-views that accompany it. So if you're like me, honestly, and you've never actually seen WCW like all the way through, you'll want to go ahead and check that out and subscribe, because I haven't. I'm really interested in how that worked, because the only thing I have is what the WWE tells me, and I mean, they won the quote-unquote war, so of course, the winners get to rewrite history. So I don't know, maybe WCW was actually better. I mean, I did hear that a lot of people said that when WCW died, they kind of got away from wrestling because I guess it was better. But I won't know, because when WCW died in 2001, I think it was, I just started watching wrestling. I've been watching wrestling since I was 9. I was born in 90, so that's 1999. I just started watching wrestling, and it's a high chance I didn't even have cable at the time, so I wouldn't have even been able to have watched that match. Excuse if you hear any noise in the background. For some reason, one of my cats has decided that the box in front of me is going to now be his new home, and he's deciding to rustle and rumble all throughout here because why not? Not sure what he's doing. I guess this is his new house. Not sure if he's a cat or if he's a dog. And this is what I'm talking about here when I say we just trying to be loose. Got to get past the stuffiness and just a lot of nonsense that happens around my life. But that is the Patreon. And still, hey, if you still would like to donate that $5 and get a shout out on the show, you can do so. You'll see an option at the top of the page that says donate when you head over to the website. And again, the point of me reducing the shows and putting things on Patreon is this. I'm reducing the shows because I want to make sure I am able to be consistent and provide high quality shows. The idea was to do 5 shows a week, but quite honestly, this is something I do in my spare time, and it becomes difficult to try to do this with a regular job at the same time. No complaints, not really trying to make it, woe is me. Just sometimes you just have to be realistic, right? So I'd rather have 2 highly polished, really good professional shows than 5 shows that are thrown together and no one's listening to, you feel me? But if you want to get those extra shows, once again, go over to Patreon and check that out. So let's roll on from here. Monday Night Raw. I just got done watching the show right now. I did not watch it Monday. I watched it today. Looks like our very first match was it wasn't a match. It was a segment. Seth Rollins comes out. Looks like they just went over the video package for Seth Rollins and Lashley, the whole failed cash-in situation, which, by the way, looking at how they started the show off and how the show ended, this was pretty much the Austin Theory show. That's basically what we were doing here, because they're trying to redeem him, I guess. I am pretty sure the last time you heard me speak about anything involving wrestling, I said that they've buried Austin Theory. And yeah, looking at what they did on this episode, I guess they've rehabbed him. They've rehashed him. He has the character of, oh my God, he snapped and now he's crazy. What is he going to do now? So I'm good with it because that's always a good character arc. Like, oh my God, someone snapped, he's going to go crazy. But I am wondering where they're going to go with it from here, because That's anybody's character arc who loses. That's a real elementary story. You know, you lose, you hit rock bottom, then you snap because you feel like you're the greatest, and then you go on a tear, and then you beat up everybody. Which some of the things I'm confused on. Hey, when did Seth Rollins become a babyface? Like, there was no actual turn. I guess he just slowly transitioned to a babyface because he got beat up at the end of the show as a babyface would. But when he comes out there and speaks, he's kind of speaking like a heel. So I'm trying to understand when this happened, but I mean, whatever, I guess. But yeah, that's what we did. That's what they did here. They had that whole package. The crowd is chanting that was stupid, which was once again my sentiment when I saw the failed cash in. I thought that was ignorant, and I still do think that was ignorant. Look. Later on, we ended up getting an interview from Theory, and he's saying how basically he's explaining honestly the corporate office's reason as to why he couldn't win, because there will be no point that Roman Reigns is going to be vulnerable enough to lose that championship. No point. If Roman Reigns is laid out and he's looking hurt, the bloodline will come out there. Someone will come out there and stop him. Reigns is not getting cashed in on. It's a waste of time. It wasn't going to happen. They elegantly explained why they did what they did, because at the end of the day, they kind of did put themselves in a hole. They were pigeonholed to, all right, what do we do now with Austin Theory? Because he is the Money in the Bank, but we have this champion who has been champion for 2 years and who has both titles. What can we possibly do? Which brings up another question. They need to do something about that Money in the Bank briefcase. It's been a long time since it has been relevant. It's been a long time since it has meant anything to anybody holding it. I honestly think they should get rid of the pay-per-view and go back to having the Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania. First of all, it's a good multi-man throwaway match that can mean something, because when you have a WrestleMania pay-per-view, the goal is to try to get as many people on there as you can, because it's WrestleMania. So if you have a match like that, it can get everybody up, and it's WrestleMania. Like, that was his whole point. But then of course they made the pay-per-view for it, which then took away the big match. I feel like WrestleMania is a show that should always have it should have a traditional match that's attached to it. I understand it's Mania, and I guess every match is meant to be good and traditional, but like, since we no longer have The Undertaker wrestling every year, we don't have a traditional, okay, it's WrestleMania, I'm ready to see this match. We don't have that. That doesn't exist anymore. So, yeah, with that being said, the whole point of everything that was going on here to start the show was to basically set up a match between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. As he's trying to talk out there, Bobby Lashley comes out there. He's saying he's going to keep beating him up until he gets his title shot. And Seth Rollins intelligently says, you had your shot last week. Instead, you decided to just beat me up around the ring. This is a trope in wrestling shows, period, where someone is just so mad, I'm just so angry, that instead of winning the match or wrestling, period, instead you just beat up your opponent, destroy him, and then come out the next week and be like, I really want my shot. Like, that was stupid. Like, he comes out and says, I'm not going to stop until I get my shot. You literally had your shot last week. You literally could have walked in the ring and wrestled. Nobody was stopping you at all. You just threw a hissy fit because Brock Lesnar just barely beat you a couple weeks ago. Like, what are we doing here? What was the purpose of that? Like, it's just, I don't get those kind of things, because what is he going to do? What's he going to do? He's going to keep going out there and just beating up Seth Rollins, being like, I want my shot, give me my shot. Rollins is going to be like, go ahead, please take the shot. Let's wrestle next week. And the way he just going to beat him up again, be in his dressing room, beat him up. It's like, bro, let's get a match going. Like, what are we doing here? In any event, they've all sets up a match between Lashley and Mustafa Ali, because Mustafa Ali comes out there because he's upset that Lashley beat him up. It was a comedy show last week when you have Mustafa Ali and Lashley. Lashley is trying to accept the United States Open Challenge, and then Ali wants to, but then instead Lashley just destroys Ali. Then Ali keeps coming back. He is thrown in a suitcase type of situation. Then he's dead, I guess. We don't hear from him again until now, rather. But in any event, this sets up Bobby Lashley going up against Mustafa Ali. As you would imagine, Lashley wins. But the story here is that Mustafa Ali is extremely resilient. Ali is getting kind of ragdolled. He gets thrown over the desk. Lashley is just beating Ali all over the ring, getting a lot of heat on Ali. But then as soon as Ali tries to make a comeback, he gets speared for his efforts, and then they lock on the hurt lock. Ali never actually taps. Instead, the referee just has to pause or has to stop the match. So Lashley wins via ref stoppage. I'm really trying to figure out what they're doing with Mustafa Ali. It's my understanding, when I saw him face Lashley a handful of weeks ago, when Lashley was a babyface, now I guess he's a heel. When I saw him face him a handful of weeks ago, I said on the show, this is how you build a star. This is how you make the people care about a wrestler. I feel like every match is that same match. Every match is this is how you build a star. I'm trying to figure out what's even the purpose of him being out there. A lot of these wrestlers, I'm trying to figure out what's the purpose, what's the storyline reason, why are they interjecting themselves in these issues and losing and being losers consistently. I mean, look, I like Mustafa Ali. I think he's a great wrestler. I think he is someone who can go far, but he kind of needs to win and continue to win. And I don't know what the answer is. Maybe a tag team. Yes, that's the answer. Put him with somebody, try to get that team over, and eventually that becomes a team that is able to overturn and defeat the Usos. Maybe that's such a shot in the dark. I just do that. I just pulled it out of thin air because that's probably never going to happen. But we got to do something here because, I mean, I don't know. Are we going to get this every single week where Ali just goes out there and he just barely makes it? He's like a guy who just goes out there, he just gets punched and beat up and kicked and spit on and just attacked, but nothing really is happening. There is no upward movement. It's all lateral. Like, he's not going down. He's not getting buried, but the guy is standing right there at the gravesite with the shovel and he's waiting because he's not going anywhere. But hey, give it time, trust the process, right? I was saying the same thing about Austin Theory, and I guess what they're doing now, they're telling me I need to trust the process. So, I mean, we'll see when it comes to Mustafa, but my hopes are low. Moving on from there, we got AJ Styles and the OC in the back. AJ calls off Finn Balor as they're setting up a match for Survivor Series. I'm a little disappointed. I feel like WWE could have pulled the trigger on a War Games match between the OC versus the Judgment Day and have the two women in the ring as well. I mean, I get it. They would have an all-women's War Games. And I guess, who is the guy War Games match? Has that... I'm trying to think. I just watched Raw. Was that even spoken about? It had to have been, and I must have missed it. I don't know who was supposed to be in the guy War Games match, but I think they missed the boat. I think they could have had the Judgment Day versus the OC and Mia Yim and Rhea Ripley respectively in each other's corner. And I mean, all you gotta do is have Ripley and Mia Yim just fight each other. I mean, again, they've done this before. you go back to Extreme Rules where it was who was that? Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans going up against Rollins and Bayley. There was only one time where Corbin he hit Becky Lynch with the. I said Bayley. I meant to say Becky Lynch. He hit Becky Lynch with the End of Days. Man, the heat at that moment in time, Baron Corbin became the most heeliest heel in the company, period, because no one does that. No one hits the women in wrestling, which I'm not advocating for hitting women, but in the context of professional wrestling, yeah, that'll get you some heat because no one does it. It just takes take the Rhea Ripley situation where she's just beating up all the dudes. It just takes one time for someone to hit her with a clothesline or something like that, or like punch her or something like that. Like, ooh, I mean, it's so simple. It's so easily done. But yeah, so it looks like we're going to get AJ Styles versus Finn Balor. I mean, I'm sure it'll be a good match, but as I put in my note here, I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm a little bit disappointed. Maybe there's just not been enough time to set up these matches. I mean, I understand that we just got done with Crown Jewel like a week ago. About a week ago. Sorry. We just got done with Crown Jewel about a week ago. And so they had to scramble. They have like 3 weeks to set up storylines. I don't understand why they weren't. This is why you really shouldn't wait until the next pay-per-view cycle to start your storylines. You should always have subtle storylines weaving throughout the year between different characters, and then at certain pay-per-views, then the storylines can peak and they rise and they get more intense. And those are the ones you put on a pay-per-view, and the other ones kind of die down and they become less relevant, but you make sure the audience remembers who's fighting. So then when we get back to the pay-per-view, it makes sense. You kind of flip-flop, go back and forth. Instead, what they do, they just kind of start a whole lot of these feuds cold. Like, I mean, I guess the Finn Balor, AJ Styles feud is not cold, but it honestly seems like a waste because I feel like the culmination probably would have been at Crown Jewel, but I guess not, because Crown Jewel is not really a true wrestling show. It's more of a like a carnival or circus show. It's just there. It's a very expensive glorified house show essentially. That's why you can get things like a Logan Paul versus a Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship. Yeah, pretty ridiculous. But I mean, again, it'd be a good match. I have no doubt that it won't be a good match, but I don't know. But moving on from here, our next match is Mia Yim versus Tamina. Nobody meaner than Tamina, and nobody is unable to wrestle like Tamina. What was going on in this match? There were visible times where Mia Yim was trying to hit a move on Tamina, and she literally just had to stop and look at it like, bruh, what are we doing here? Like, Mia Yim tried to hit her with an Irish whip. Tamina just like stood there like she didn't know what the next move was. Like, when was the last time she wrestled? Like, I'm sure she's having matches on the main event or Superstars or whatever those C shows are. Like, I'm not watching those, but I'm sure she's wrestling on those. I'm sure she's wrestling on house shows. But so what's the excuse here? Because this was horrible. I mean, Mia Yim wins. Sure, I believe she hit the eat defeat for the win. But this was a horrible match. Like, the point of this was to show that Mia Yim can defeat a bigger opponent like a Tamina Snuka. Or I guess I should just say Tamina. That's the whole point. To show that she can beat a bigger opponent like Tamina. But it's just, I'm not sure what this proved. It's a waste of time because Tamina did nothing good here. Okay, so let's get to the saga of my house. So my other cat is trying to figure out why the first cat went in this box and he never came out. So he's going back and forth. He's checking the boxes. He's trying to see. Looks like now he's trying to get in. Yeah, this is real life commentary, folks, on the stylings of my house. I guess he's going to try to get in there and just make sure he's okay. I'm sure he's fine. Hey, Boss, I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he's just fine. Don't worry about him. Yes, my cat's name is Boss. Told you, loose. Keeping it light. Our next match here was Matt Riddle. I'm sorry, this is not a match. Matt Riddle was in the back. He's in the back with, he's in the back with Chad Gable. You know, it just bothers me because Matt Riddle and Chad Gable are two extremely talented wrestlers. Gable and Riddle both could easily be potential world champions if you book them right and if you do it correctly. These are these are world champions. But instead, what we get is nonsense. We get Gable and Riddle going back and forth saying, you have Gable saying shoosh and Riddle hitting the bongos like shoosh, bongo, shoosh, bongo, shoosh for like whatever unnecessary length of time. And this is setting up a match between Chad Gable and Matt Riddle. Unsure what the purpose is of that, but I said this before and I'm going to keep saying it. Matt Riddle is lost without Randy Orton. He has no direction. He has no purpose. I mean, Chad Gable and Otis are just about as lost because they seem to just be on the show. I can't even say they're on the show to be like jobbers and lose to people because they win. They win. Chad Gable won this match. As we came back from the break, it was Matt Riddle versus Chad Gable, and Chad Gable won. Sure, it was through cheating, and Otis had to hold down the legs of Gable in order to make sure that he can hold the pin. But, I mean, it was basically through cheating. But they won. And, here's my problem. They won. That's great. That's perfect. Gable is a great wrestler. He should be getting some wins. But he's probably going to lose tomorrow. All right, back to the saga in my house. I guess my other cat he was really concerned about Blau, which is the other cat's name. He was really concerned about him. See, everything's safe. He's just fine. Can I get back to the show now that you know that your friend is safe? All right, so back to the show here. That was that was the saga in my house. My one cat, which I made sure that the other cat was safe. Yeah, that's more exciting than what we saw on Raw. Okay, now they're fighting. I'm telling you, this is a lot like watching AEW. You think they're friends, and then he just turns on them for like no good reason. This is about right. Watch when this fight is over between my cats. This is going to end up being if there's probably going to be a match set up next week. So just stupid. I'm just going on here. Anyway, getting back to wrestling. Yeah, Chad Gable wins. Again, he was cheating. Otis had to hold on his legs. Now, what kills me is this here. The match itself was great. Chad Gable versus Matt Riddle was an excellent match. It was probably one of the best matches on the card next to the main event. But it was an excellent, great match. If they can put that type of match on every week without the fodder and the nonsense and the stupidity, we're looking at top guys. We're looking at top tier talent. We're looking at great wrestlers who can hold their own and who can get in here and have a good match and get the people up. Like the people were up. All right, more fighting here. And right there, what a shot. So let's do some commentary here. We had the one cat try to hit my other cat with a spear. And as that went down, the boss did a roll. Looks like one cat has assumed an upward position to, I guess, probably dive on the other cat. Not sure what the move is going to be here. The one cat is not taking that. It's just, yeah. This is probably a point in time where I probably would have cut this out. But, I mean, okay. Now you're trying to steal my food. This is a point where I probably would have cut this out, but it's just so ridiculous what I'm looking at here as I'm trying to do a TV show. Look, I'm all over the place. I'm trying to do a podcast here. Anyway. Again, these two are great wrestlers, and I don't know. I just really have a problem with the goofy stuff, especially when it's good wrestlers, and especially when it's not leading anywhere. Because Kurt Angle was an excellent wrestler, and he did goofy stuff. But you know what the difference is? When he got in the ring, he didn't do goofy stuff. When he got in the ring, he was Kurt Angle. He was a machine. Nobody was touching him. But hey, I guess we can't go back to those times. So moving on from there, we have JBL in the back. You got JBL and Baron Corbin. They're playing poker with some celeb. I'm not sure who this guy was, but in any event, Tozawa sits down there and says he's never played poker before, and he just wants to play. And of course, we all know what this leads to. It leads to Tozawa basically hustling them and taking all their money, essentially. So moving on from there, our next segment was a Miz TV segment. The Miz apparently had a prepared statement. You ever just watch your cat? He just be looking at stuff like something's going on. Not sure what he's seeing. He's seeing a ghost or something. Anyway, so we have a Miz TV segment with Brian Saxon. So the Miz says that he has prepared a statement. He's going to address this issue that he has with Lumis. Basically what happens here is that the Miz says that he admits to paying Lumis. He admits to the whole thing being a sham. He was just trying to get empathy because I guess no one feels bad for him and he wants to be known as a good guy. And look, let me spare you the details. Don't waste your time watching this. It ends like this. At Survivor Series, we're going to have The Miz versus Dexter Lumis. If Dexter Lumis wins, The Miz has to pay back all the money that he owes him, which is an undisclosed amount that we'll never know the answer to. And Lumis gets the contract. So this just want to really paint a picture here. We have an uncontracted civilian who just gets to walk through the arena. So if I go to a WWE event, can I just hop the barricade and just walk through like I'm not under contract, right? I can do that, right? No. Now, I do understand something here. The Miz is injured. There's something wrong with his shoulder or his elbow. There's some kind of issue there. It keeps going away. So that's probably why they have prolonged it so that he wasn't wrestling so he could heal up. I'm sure he hasn't wrestled in about a month or so. But the storyline in general probably should have happened because all these weeks, all this time, and the big reveal is that the Miz just wanted people to feel bad for him because he wants to be known as a good guy and everyone hates him. So he's sad. And that's our story. And that's what will culminate in a match at Survivor Series. Moving on from there, our next match is, once again, no match. I'm so used to wrestling here. Our next match is, once again, no match. Our next segment is the Judgment Day. In the back, we have Dominic Mysterio. He's making fun of Shelton Benjamin, basically calling him a failure, which is pretty ridiculous. Damian Priest gets in the face of Shelton Benjamin, trying to protect Dominic Mysterio. Dom is in the back, out like a spoiled child, like, yeah, you will be a loser. And he's just hilarious. Of course, this all runs into a match which becomes Dom versus Shelton Benjamin because Shelton Benjamin says, I accept your challenge. And then he speaks to Dominic Mysterio. So that's what we get. Dom versus Shelton Benjamin. What can be said here? Dominic Mysterio is doing what he should be doing. He's playing the scared, cowardly heel who's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Please don't hurt me. I didn't mean it. He's playing the scared, cowardly heel. He's doing it well. Shelton Benjamin dominated him the entire match. Once again, that's exactly what should happen. You know what is good about how they are booking Dominic Mysterio? He's still not that good in the ring. But with what they have him doing, it doesn't matter because it's hidden behind a lot of smoke and mirrors. It's easily hidden behind, him being scared, the other members of the Judgment Day helping him out. It's hidden behind this whole cloud of smoke, which is excellent because that's how you get a rookie who doesn't know what they're doing yet That's how you get them over. That's how you hide the weaknesses and accentuate the strengths. And I'm going to say this might sound like, blasphemy according to the wrestling world, but when I look at Dominic Mysterio, I see a little bit of Eddie Guerrero. I'm not going to lie. I don't know what it is. It might be the fact that he's continually emulating him, but I feel like that's, yeah. If there was anyone who could be similar to an Eddie Guerrero in mannerisms and moveset, and if you put someone a little bit of weight, if you put someone a little bit of muscle, probably in muscle too, Dominic got it. He looks more like Eddie Guerrero than he does Rey Mysterio. Again, I go back to that match that they had so many years ago where the winner got to get custody of Dominic. Maybe Eddie Guerrero was the real dad. Obviously he wasn't. But moving on from there, of course, again, Dominic wins. There's a distraction by Rhea Ripley, which then allows Priest to pull down the ropes to help Dominic and avoid him from tapping onto the ankle lock. Dominic hits a frog splash for the 1, 2, 3. Moving on from there, we have Austin Theory. He's in the back. This is where we get a rundown of what I spoke about at the beginning of the show. He's saying he's under all this pressure. He's saying he is the best. He's saying he's tired of being the youngest this, the first that, the new this. No, he basically is saying he is the man, and he's here to, essentially checks and championships, win championships, get checks, be the best there is. And he's going to prove it. And of course, this is where we get Dolph Ziggler, which of course, Dolph Ziggler is the obligatory man who can have an excellent match, but guy who is going to get defeated and beat up every time, because he's really good at taking a beating. So it just makes perfect sense to me. So yeah, that's what we get there. Yeah. I should say something. I really like Dolph Ziggler. I've always had like some high hopes for him. I thought that he could always, company wise or just wrestling wise, do better. Like he could have been a world champion and could be that consistently. He could be a Shawn Michaels type, a Bret Hart type. He could be those guys. I mean, he can literally get in the ring with any and everybody and make them look like $100, $1,000. I bet you if he had a match with Dominic Mysterio, he'll make Dominic look like the greatest wrestler of all time. Because he's, as he says, he is that damn good. Still in the Triple H line. But he really is. And it's almost like he's so good that they rather just have him put other people over. And I sometimes have to remember that this is pro wrestling, and the point is just to do what the people might like. So we all know that he's a good wrestler. Now, of course, they didn't actually beat him in the match because Theory ends up going crazy and like destroyed him and whatnot. So he never actually lost the match. He actually won by DQ, but I mean, we know. Our next match was Io Sky going up against Dana Brooke. Help me out here. What was the purpose of of Dana Brooke going up against Io Sky? Isn't Nikki Cross the one who beat her for the 24/7 championship last week and then threw it in the trash? Well, attempted to throw it in the trash, but completely missed the trash bin like 100%. It was hilarious. Why wouldn't she just face her again? Like, why are they even bringing this up? Look, WWE. We understand. You had Nikki Cross take the 24/7 title off of her and then throw it in the trash because it's not a real championship. Who cares? The title is defunct. It was a nonsense title. It was a nonsense title to begin with. We're never going to have the hardcore championship back because we're well past that at this point. And it just is what it is. But I do say they probably could have done a little bit better with that, But I mean, it is what it is. Too much time has passed and they weren't able to. But again, I don't understand what the why would she want to face Io Sky? And she even cut a promo saying that like she's going to face Io Sky, and that's going to be because she has to really show that she worked hard for this title. It's like, okay, why are you facing Io Sky? What did Io Sky do? But in any event, Io Sky wins, hits the moonsault. Dana Brooke is gone because we can move on from this. I guess hopefully this is the end of the 24/7 title. Look, I like Dana Brooke. I have no issue with Dana Brooke. I do think she could probably improve a little bit, but I have no problem with Dana Brooke. Maybe they should have a secondary title for the women. I mean, sure, they can do something, I'm sure, but this is irrelevant. So moving on from here. In the back, we see Mia Yim. It looks like Mia Yim is going to. I'm sorry, not in the back. This was on the stage rather. Mia Yim is going to join the team of Belair, Asuka, and Bliss for War Games. So there we go there. We cycle to the back, and that's where we had Tozawa in the back, and it's showing that he had already hustled JBL and Baron Corbin out of all their money, and then he, of course, challenged him to. Tozawa challenges Baron Corbin to a match. Now we get the continuation of the Austin Theory show. It was Austin Theory versus Dolph Ziggler. Again, Dolph Ziggler won the match by DQ, but we all know that's not the story here. The story is what happens. It's what makes the match become a DQ. So, fast forwarding, by the way, this was a good match. By all accounts, before we got to where we got to, it was a fine match because, once again, it's Dolph Ziggler. It's Austin Theory. There was no way this was going to be a bad match. But in any event, we move forward, and towards the end of the match, Austin Theory hits 2 8-town downs. Could have win. Match is over, obviously. Instead, Theory just snaps. He just mounts Dolph Ziggler, punches and punches and punches and punches and punches, and just rains him down on him, throws him into stairs, throws him over the barricade, tries to flip the stairs on Ziggler. I'm glad Ziggler got out the way, because the way those stairs flipped, that could have been a shot to the head, the arm, that could have been an injury, because I don't know how you can gimmick that. I'm sure that was planned, but I don't know how you gimmick that. Ziggler gets announced chairs thrown on him, steel chairs thrown on him. I mean, he just gets destroyed all over the ring, to the point where officials, refs, and everybody have to come out there and try to pull Ziggler off, or rather pull Theory off of Ziggler, because he's just absolutely destroying him. It's becoming pretty nasty out there. And I guess this is how we're going to rehab Theory, as I was saying earlier in the show. Look, I got some thoughts on how we should book Austin Theory in the future. Feel free to subscribe to the Patreon page, because I will be speaking on that in my after party show, which you can get, I'll be speaking on that after the after party show, which you can get on patreon.com/Action Wrestling News. I'm going to bring up what I think they should be doing with Austin Theory. But in any event, we'll see what they do. We'll see what their plans are. But I guess this is how they're going to rehash Austin Theory. We'll see. Moving on from there, we got Rhea Ripley. Seems that she's going to join Damage Control for War Games. Makes sense. Ripley as a heel. I mean, it just makes sense, right? We got Akira Tozawa versus Baron Corbin. Really no need to review this here. Baron Corbin wins the match. I will say this. Akira Tozawa had way too much offense for a guy who won. Just hustled them in the back for all this damn money. And it's Akira Tozawa. And it's Baron Corbin. And we're trying to get Corbin over, which ain't working. Is there a reason why we did not have JBL cut a promo this week? Please don't tell me that somebody got offended. I spoke on this a few weeks ago, that JBL is running a real fine line, because he goes out there and he's cutting these promos. He's calling everybody snowflakes, calling everybody soft, chubby, and some people. Man, we live in a world where you can't say anything about anyone and make them feel sad, because you'll be booted off TV. Please don't tell me that this is happening, because if that's happened, we are wasting our time. You should just get Baron Corbin off the TV, get JBL off the TV, because if JBL can't go out there and cut promos, what are we doing? That's the whole point. If he can't go out there and essentially be a bully, what is we doing? We wasting time. Hopefully it was just a timing issue. They just didn't have time to have him go out there and cut a promo, which seems stupid. I mean, he did make a reference to, like, you know, they're in the South, so maybe they're like, you know, people are related to their cousins or people are in relationships with their cousins. Lame, boo, throwing tomatoes is kind of like a regular thing, right? You know, you're in the South, whatever. Anyway, but we'll see what they do next week, because if they've taken that away, I mean, it's a waste of time, because, man, Corbin ain't really getting over. I don't know what needs to happen. Maybe give him the clothesline from hell. Maybe put him in a feud with somebody. That might be it. Put him in a feud with somebody, because he's supposed to be becoming this serious wrestling god character and all this stuff, and he's in the ring with Akira Tozawa. He's in a segment with R-Truth. What is we doing? He should be facing nobodies and destroying them in minutes, in seconds. What are we doing here, man? I don't understand, you know, but of course Corbin wins with the end of days. It was a cool way how he won. Akira Tozawa tries to do a dive off the top rope, but he does it one too many times, gets caught, and gets hit in the end of days. Moving on from there, of course, we have Finn Balor. He accepts the challenge to face AJ Styles at Extreme Rules, cuts a quick promo on him. Again, it's going to be a good match. I mean, it's Survivor Series. It's Finn Balor versus AJ Styles. I see no reason for it to be a bad match, which, hey, speaking of matches, Roman Reigns, there's no way they're not going to have Roman Reigns at Survivor Series, right? I'm all for the champion not necessarily wrestling at every single pay-per-view. I don't think it's necessary. But if he's not going to be defending that title, he at least needs to be in a War Games match. It got to be the Bloodline versus somebody. Again, maybe I've missed it. Like I said, I haven't really watched too much wrestling like the past week. Again, it's been a week since I've done a show, so maybe I'm out the loop and I missed something. But there's no way we're going to have Survivor Series and not have Roman Reigns, the current Universal Champion, undisputed Universal Champion, the current champ who's been the champ for 2+ years, 800 some days. Nah, it's no way. Hopefully. So moving on from there, we get our main event, which was Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. Rollins wins. He wins with the curb stomp. Let's just get that out the way. But I mean, again, what's there to say about these kind of matches here? It was a great match. It's what you would expect. It is the main event of Monday Night Raw. It's exactly what I would expect when it comes to the main event. I mean, we have a spot where Seth Rollins is like kind of selling his stomach because Finn Balor like throws Rollins into the announce desk, like the corner, and like the corner like stabs him in the stomach. I thought it was just good selling. Turns out it was very, very real, because as the match progresses, you can see it was like a cut forming on Rollins' stomach. So, I mean, that was the because I shows like, damn, this is some amazing selling. Now he just got stabbed, basically, like he definitely worked through it. Again, great match. These guys have great chemistry. Now, of course, this is Finn Balor. So you know who comes down. The Judgment Day comes down, and they of course try to distract Seth Rollins. The OC comes out, and Mia Yim comes out to beat up the Judgment Day. It's a whole situation. Everyone's flying everywhere, bodies flying, fights flying. Damian Priest just launches Carl Anderson into the announce desk. He's just looking wilder here. And of course, this is when we get Rollins hitting the curb stomp and going for the 1, 2, 3. Rollins has about, I don't know, half a second to celebrate before Austin Theory comes out there and beats the holy hell out of Rollins. We got 2 A-Town downs. He beats Rollins all over the ring. Theory he grabs the title and just slams it in the head of I forgot his name. Slams it in the head of Seth Rollins. And then, of course, raises the title over Rollins' laid out body. So, again, I guess this was the Austin Theory show, and I'm not mad at it. I believe in show long themes, by the way. And I guess this is what they're going to do to try to get Theory over. And going back to what Theory said in his promo earlier in the night, he was right. Him being the Money in the Bank champion was pretty much it was an anchor. It was a thorn. What was he going to do? When was he ever going to be able to cash in that title on Roman Reigns? The answer is never. There's no point in time, period, ever where Reigns was going to be vulnerable enough to have the Money in the Bank cashed on him. Like, that was never going to be a possibility. And it's unfortunate that we're in a situation where Roman Reigns has both championships, which goes to something that I want to speak on later on, that Roman Reigns at WrestleMania should defend both championships on both nights. They have 2 nights. Take advantage of it. If Roman Reigns is who he says he is and he's his champion, that's what you should do. He should defend one title on one show and one title on the other show. I mean, you have it set up. Someone can win the Royal Rumble and then just go for a title. And someone can, and then you would have to kind of like Jimmy rig the storyline, because if someone is going to fight Roman Reigns, why wouldn't you want to go for both titles, right? To be the undisputed champion, but they got to find some way to like split those titles, because otherwise, I mean, what are we doing here, right? Yeah, but that is the show. That is the show. And again, I want to apologize for the hiatus, the 1 week break. There was just a lot going on in life, and I had to really evaluate how I'm going to put together these shows, but I think I have a much better format for these shows now. So again, they'll be out every Tuesday and Saturday, like consistently. Those will be the 2 shows to always look out for. When it comes to things like pay-per-views, I will let you know on either one of those shows whether or not you will get a bonus podcast or if it will just be included into the main feed. It honestly probably depends on the podcast. Like, for example, something like a WrestleMania, those are probably going to get, that's probably going to be like a week-long coverage. You know, that's probably when we go back to week-long coverage, that like that whole WrestleMania week. But things like that. Something like the Rumble, you know, because again, the show starts on Tuesday, so the Rumble's on Saturday. I'm trying to get you a show Sunday, so, you know, you can hear my thoughts, you know, immediately. Yeah. Or maybe it'll be a case where if you're on Patreon, you can get the review first. I don't know. We'll see. But we'll play with these things. We'll see what's going on. Speaking of Patreon, once again, do not forget to subscribe to the Patreon show. That is patreon.com/Action Wrestling News, because right after this podcast ends, you should already have the after show for this podcast. We're just naming it After Show 1. Just know that each after show, whatever is numbered, is kind of coincides with the date. Like I'll have the date of the after show so you know which episode of the podcast it is connecting to. But yeah, right after this podcast, we're going to have the rest of the podcast, which is going to be over on patreon.com. So go ahead, please support me. On the after party show, I'm going to be going a little bit deeper into how I will book Austin Theory going forward. What should Lumis be doing after the feud with The Miz? Again, should the world titles be split? I have said that the answer is yes. Spoiler, they should be split, but we're going into a little bit more detail on what that looks like. And yes, some information on future shows, but go ahead and subscribe to the Patreon. So once again, that is patreon.com/Action Wrestling News. And again, I want to thank you all for listening to the show, and we are back. We will be back here rather on Saturday with your AEW Dynamite and your SmackDown review. Once again, remember, if you want to listen to NXT, the NXT review that's going to be dropping tomorrow, check that on the Patreon page. If you want to hear the Rampage review, also going to be on Patreon. If you get ready if you want to hear the WCW review, the after party shows, anything we could think of is going to be over there on the Patreon page. So, again, I want to thank you all for listening to the show. I hope you all have a great time. And remember, if you're looking for action, wrestling, and news, and keep it right here every Tuesday and Saturday. Have a great day, everyone.